shit, guys. We got the missiles. They are coming. Fire our shit. But then let's fire.
何？I'm telling you, Meat Boy MMA has the content.
Let's go, boys. Episode 188 on the Meat Sweaty page. And good to see you, Meat Boy. Glad you're back. 2-week hiatus from the locks. UFC Sphere was 2 weeks ago. It was a Glansburg affair, but nonetheless, we got your insight. You went 4-3. Your boy went 5-2. But fights aside, what'd you make out of UFC Sphere? Did it live up to the hype to you? What were your thoughts on the action, on the production? What stood out from the Sphere 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, no, the series is quite interesting. I would love to check it out one day. I hope that maybe throw one, maybe two more fights in the Sphere. That'd be very cool. I thought the production was very interesting, very wild. It did seem that, if you paid 100 grand for floor seats, you got screwed. So that's unfortunate for them because it's like being front row at the IMAX theater. Who wants to do that? You're just gonna break your neck looking at all the cool visuals. So people in the back, people in the nosebleeds actually got paid out and had probably the best experience ever because you're getting top down with the coolest IMAX, craziest TV ever. So I thought that was very interesting. How they had people paying 100 grand for those floor seats when like that just seems like not fun.
Yeah, the rare event where like the higher you were, potentially the better view, the sicker the experience was, and it's fascinating because you and we had planned to be there, right? We had for months discussed how we're hitting the UFC Sphere. I mean, not to confirm or deny, but we may or may not have even had a hotel already booked. But when the prices first dropped, I mean, it priced out a lot of like true UFC fans, and to see those nosebleed seats being upwards of $2,000 for the longest time, I think really priced a lot of people out. And it was fascinating. You touched on the $100,000 for floor seats or however expensive they were. It was funny to watch the ticket market kind of sizzle down a little bit towards the end, and those same $2,000 upwards seats in the nosebleeds were down to, I believe, less than 800. So it was fascinating to see how the prices developed for that event. But nonetheless, I mean, it would be easy to hate on the Sphere, to hate on the experience. But I mean, it's tough to argue with the production. I mean, it seemed like it really delivered. I wish that they might have extended the Mexican Independence Day story a little bit into the prelims, maybe like the last prelim fight, but overall, I thought the main card absolutely delivered. And if we're focusing just on the fights, Meat Boy, I mean, Meatlock, easy light work. Our boy Ronaldo Rodriguez over O'Day Osborne in a fight that was, I guess, fake sketchy in the beginning. It was the first fight on the main card. But what can you say about our boy Lazy Boy coming through, getting the easy Meatlock dub, our third in a row? I mean, it seems like you got to kill Ronaldo Rodriguez to take him out. What do you think about the Meatlock?
Yeah, no. He looked really great, and yeah, you almost do gotta kill the guy to beat the guy. Dude's tough as nails, heart of gold, and came through with another meat lock.
Yeah, came through easy light work. Sky's the limit for Lazy Boy. I mean, that dude is next level fun. I thought that in the build up throughout the press conference, he was the one really selling the events. Probably the best, to be honest with you. So good stuff from Lazy Boy. The fight immediately afterwards, though, Ribovics versus Zellhuber was a split decision. Obvious fight of the night. I mean, a true banger where basically both dudes were dead to rights at one point. What'd you make out of that fight? We both had Zellhuber ultimately, but we were kind of saying that, yo, Ribovics is tough as nails. So were you at all surprised by that outcome, or did it live up and sort of match what you thought it would be?
Yeah, no, I thought, I don't know, I kind of thought that's how it would kind of go. Uh, Hellbigger, I won't say he's the best, but he's not the worst. I don't know. It was very surprising to see how the prelims, honest, I don't want to say it was better, um, but I don't know, more exciting almost because I think they had some more to just display versus like the bullet in them. So I don't know. That was a crazy fight. Uh, I don't know. It was a wild one for sure.
Yeah, the last three fights, I mean, they were all unanimous decisions, and Diego Lopez kind of dominated Brian Ortega. Valentina obviously dominated Grosso, and then, I mean, you can make an argument, even though the scorecards were pretty close, that Marab also dominated Sean O'Malley. But real quick, you touched on the prelims. how about Nacho Bahamondes, our boy Ignacio, absolutely sleeping sleepy Manuel Torres, and you and I were all over that one, right? It was essentially a dog lock for Bahamondes. I mean, the dude, when you train with Bilal Muhammad for 5+ years, then you're gonna take out hype beasts like Sleepy Torres. So, did you make anything out of Ignacio? And then just final last thoughts on Marab versus Sean and Valentina versus Grasso. What do you got?
Yeah, no, Bahamondes, that was a great knockout. He's looking great. You know, I keep seeing people online saying he's the new, possibly best striker in the UFC. I don't know, that's a big stretch, but Wonderboy Thompson's kind of backing that up on his YouTube channel, so I thought that was quite interesting. I'll have to look more into that, but he is a slick, sick striker. But the best, man, I don't know. I got to really think about it, really watch more footage. But it's definitely persuading me after that knockout. So would not surprise me if he keeps knocking heads with his ability. Um, Alexa Grasso, feel real bad, love her, but also love Valentina. She is the GOAT. She truly is, and she absolutely just demolished. It seemed that Shevchenko and Davili, they were on the same path for victory
He was a
because they
juice
both
box, he was a juice
demolished their
boy, and
fighters
that's why that
that
juicy
they were
juice
going
box
versus.
came into
Sean O'Malley looked
the
like
camera
he
frame.
was a little I don't know, too much prime energy or something. I don't know. He just seems slow, lethargic, not the normal Sean. Or Sean was just very scared. Like it's hard to see like if it's like oh his cut or his food diet or whatever or him mentally, or was he just crapping bricks because he's like oh my god this 5'2" Davili is going to ragdoll me, and that's what Davili did. Pretty much ragdolled him. Last round got toe to the belly button. That would have been a wild turn of events if Sean won by toe to belly button. But glad that nobody got cheated out of their victory like an Usman 3-second lip job, aka kick to the skull, and now Usman just doesn't win anymore. So it was well deserved by Marab.
Yeah, the toe belly tickler would have been absolutely insane if he did pick up that finish, and it did kind of seem like Marab was not enjoying that shot for sure. But Marab survived, takes the belt, and your boy called that one. You had Sean, but in the co-meet, you were all over Valentina the Bullet, and I had Grasso. So we were close to aligning the OGs on that one, but got swindled by a couple hype beasts, I guess. But nonetheless, very interesting card. I thought again that the UFC Sphere delivered, but. It's in the rear view now, Meat Boy. We're heading straight to Paris. Should we jump into episode 188?
Yes, absolutely.
Swap us through then. It's your boy Fares ZM. Not really your boy. Taking on our boy Matt Frevola, the steamroller, who at 5-4-1 in the UFC. It's a dog log, boys. And, he's won 3 of 4. Steamroller Frevola, his only loss was to BSD. It was about a year ago at this point, and we've seen what Benoit Saint Denis, I mean, he's in the meat event of this event for a reason, and we've seen the success he's had in the UFC. And then if you scroll back and look at Frevola's other losses, it's Terrence McKinney got slept in 7 seconds in a very surprising upset, and then he went the distance with Arman Sarukian. So it's not like Frevola's losing to bad fighters. And the one that really impressed us most recently was when we had actually meatlocked our boy Drew Dober against Frevola, and Diesel was telling us, hey, Frevola is probably going to get this one done, and ultimately it was a performance of the night, kind of easy, light work. First round finish for Frevola, the steamroller over Drew Dober. So we've liked what we've seen from Frevola, and for us, ZM, Fazeev, I mean, he has done some interesting things lately. He is on a 3-fight win streak, but you inspect the wins. It's Claudio Poyas, split decision earlier this year. Jai Herbert, the Black Country banger, unanimous him, and then he beat Michael Figlak, aka Figlock. But is he really a Figlock? Not really. So, what are your thoughts on this meatlock? What do you like about Steamroller Frevola? And as a doglock, how does he get this one done over your boy ZM?
Yeah, no, this is an absolute lock, nonetheless. Fiziem, uh, yeah, I just don't think he's got it in him. I mean, I think he's a brittle boy, while Matt Frevola is going to absolutely steamroller, Mr. Fake, Fizzy over here. Yeah, ZM, he's looking all right recently, but I just think Frevola is stronger, faster, better striker, way more aggressive. I think he's gonna go in there, take him down, ground and pound, or maybe even just throw an absolute meat bomb and send ZM's brittle bones to another galaxy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because we know the smile killer for Rest ZM as a long, lanky guy, right? He's pretty big for the division, 6'1", has that 75-inch reach, and we know the steamroller to be built more like a steamroller, right? He's more short, he's compact, and definitely brings a more well-rounded game than the sniper smile killer ZM, who he'll mix up the grappling a little bit, but you know he's trying to kind of stand on the outside and just chip away with dinker punches and kicks. But he is training at Killcliff FC, and that will give him some solid reps. But when it comes to Frevola, I mean, this is a dude who he's just got the heart, right? And one of the intangibles that you cannot teach. And we just like the steamroller to waltz into Paris and truly smash and ultimately steamroll the smile killer, likely through the grappling heavy attack, right? I mean, do you anticipate a game where Frevola comes out here trying to stand and bang with Fares? Because I tend to lean on Frevola just really mixing it up and probably getting some early takedowns and controlling the action, dictating where this fight takes place. So we're going for Frevola for the dog lock, obviously, but is that how you envision him getting it done? Just a steamroll sesh?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's gonna be a steamroll um, for the night with a highlight reel of rolls of steam.
Yeah, I buy that for sure. And whether he gets the finish or the decision, who knows? I think that there's a pathway probably for both, but we'll be keeping it simple, throwing down an easy 100 to net 110 again, going for our fourth straight meat lock. And we think the homie Steamroller Frevola is the one to keep this full steam ahead, so to speak. So swap us through, meat boy, unless you got anything else. You ready for your boy Hulk? It's your boy the Hulk, 17-10, 1-1. And before we even jump into recent his win loss, his the good and bad things that the Hulk has done, Meepo, if I had to ask you how old do you think Iwan Kute Laba is, how would you respond?
36.
Iwan Kutelaba somehow is still a young, barely 30 years old, and that was surprising to me because I mean we've been watching the Hulk fight for what seems like a decade now. We've seen him fight everyone in the division, right? Whether it's Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, Ankalaev, Khalil, who's fighting for the belt in a few weeks, Glover Teixeira, Cannonier. I mean, Iwan's literally been in there with everyone, and while granted he's pretty much lost to all of them, I was surprised to see that Iwan is only 30 years old and oftentimes, if you look at Ewan's last fights, right, and we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge he's lost 4 of his last 5, and he only has 3 wins in his last 11 fights. But once in a while, when he's picking up those elusive W's, he's taking out hype beast bums like Tanner Bozer, like Devin Clark, like Gadze Murad Antagulov. Like whenever Ewan's getting these sneaky dubs, he's taking out hype beasts. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one because he's taking out Ivan Urslan, a debutant, 14-3, coming from KSW. You see the skewer, and this one's interesting because I mean, Ivan Urslan, he's coming in looking like Bumdog, right? He's looking like Bogdan Guskov, and it's basically a pick'em. So is this the next Bumdog, and Iwan Kutelaba is getting absolutely slept, or similar to what Iwan has done to previous hype beasts, is Iwan going to take out this KSW bum?
I think Ewan's going to absolutely come back with the green skin paint and Hulk smash. I think he's going to absolutely ragdoll this fake UFC fighter. I mean, this guy lost and then got a win versus a bunch of nobodies, and now he's in the UFC. So I feel like this is kind of just a filler arc. We're trying to get Hulk, like you said. I'm blown away. I thought for sure I said 36 as generous. He might have been
Right.
38. Dude looks
Mm-hmm.
30 years older than me, very fascinating, very mind-blowing on that. So I think the UFC sees potential on like at least getting him a win back in the column. So I think they're trying to get him on a win streak, get him going, build up his resume and get him some more wins so he can start having better fights again, get that confidence back up. Because it's just very surprising to see this matchup unless it's not an easy win for Hulk. Like this matchup makes no sense versus this guy.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and I was inspecting Tapology just to kind of see where their heads are at. And it's fascinating that this fake bum dog Yvonne is 2 years older, almost 3 years older than the Hulk. I thought that was interesting. And on Tapology, majority's going with Yvonne, 55%. Listen to what I'm saying. They're taking Yvonne and they're fading Ewan. So are you at all surprised that the majority of Tapology backers are taking this debutant over Kutelabo, who has basically 20 fights?
I'm not surprised just because, he's lost to very questionable people, but he's also beaten some pretty good ones too. And I just think people can't put too much stock in E1. He's a hit or miss. He's a two pump chump. He's there. He looks like the best one day, then he looks like literally how did he get into the UFC? So I'm not surprised. Might be a closer fight than what I'm actually thinking, but I just think that E1 is, he's getting it figured out. He's getting a free fight right here and he should make light work of this.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. It's an interesting debutante, and it's an interesting matchup for it's a good matchup for Yvonne, right? It's like the UFC is giving him a notable name and on paper potentially a winnable opponent. But you touched on the wins of Yvonne. I mean, his recent wins, right? He beat Bogdan Ganidko, and that's not even Bogdan Guskov. That's a different Bogdan. And then he took out Dirley Brostrap, and it's like he's losing to dudes like Ibrahim Krushayev and Rafael Heart Attack, and these guys are just they bring questionable skill sets. Whereas we know what we're getting with Ewan, right? Like he's not necessarily the best fighter in the world, but he's pretty. He's a solid levels test, right? So I'm with you. I don't ever love picking Ewan, and I think that at least you're getting pick 'em value because sometimes when the odds makers are bullish on the Hulk, his odds will inflate way beyond what they should be. So maybe pick him Ewan against a hype beast debutant is actually probably fake juicy, but I'll roll with you reluctantly, semi reluctantly, take an E1. Are we going by finish or decision?
It's got to be finished. First round finish.
Okay, yeah. E1 probably finishes E-Von, but let us know in the comments if you're taking the debutant. Are we sleeping on Urslan, or is Kutelaba going to show him the UFC level? Let us know for sure, but swap us through me, boy, because from here on out, I mean, this fight card is low-key stacked with bangers, and this is another one with two surging middleweights who, arguably, if one of them performs, beyond standard, then they might earn themselves a title shot pretty immediately, because Nasrin Imavov is 14-4-1. 7-3 in the UFC. Hasn't lost since he did that light heavyweight fight against Sean Strickland over about 2 years ago at this point. And since then, he's just been dominating, right? Smoked Cannonier, finished him most recently, took out Roman Dolidze. He beat Chris Curtis. I mean, officially it's a no contest, but essentially Imavov got that one done. And the odds makers are respecting him as a minus 218 favorite in this one against your boy Brendan Allen, who has won 7 straight fights in the UFC. He's won 9 of 10, and his only loss was to, here he pops up again, Chris Curtis in a strange fight where Brendan Allen actually got finished by the Milkman in that one. So before we even analyze the wins and losses, the strategic pathways for each guy, are you taking Brendan all in Allen as a plus 180 dog, or is Imavov going to show him another levels test for him?
Yeah, this one I'm very torn on because these are both my guys. But I definitely don't like that. I feel like I don't remember it being a split, but Brendan Allen versus Milkman 2.0 and it was a split win. Definitely doesn't look good, and that's why I think he's the dog in this fight because Imavov is coming off an amazing KO. At least on paper, KO versus Cannoneer, which nobody's KO'd that guy. So I think it's a little inflated. I think people are underestimating All In. I mean, All In is about that life. I mean, he's fighting, old Blocky in the streets just for fun. If he's willing to do that, what do you think he's willing to do to Imavov? I think he's gonna ragdoll him.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? I mean, we saw the video, Brendan all in Allen getting into a Vegas casino altercation with old Blocky, the blockhead Marvin Vittori, and he was game then, and you got to
He's a
imagine
juice
he'll be
box, he's a
game
juice
on
boy, and
Saturday as
that's
well.
why the
Because
juicy juice
this
box
dude who
came
seemingly
into
just loves the
the
fight.
camera
But
frame.
you also mentioned, I had highlighted his last loss, which was to Chris Curtis when he got finished, but totally forgot that they rematched and they fought to a split decision. And what did you make out of that fight? Because it seems like Brendan Allen, all of his wins prior, I mean, he literally had all finishes, and like 5 of the 6 finishes in a row were performance of the night. So the fact that he barely, I mean, you could say he barely emerged against the Milkman, did that give you any pause at all? Or is that going to be maybe even helpful to just remind everyone that, hey, that was probably just an off night and he still got it done.
Yeah, no, so that's kind of what I was trying to say was not that really was an off night. I just don't remember it being that close. I thought All In absolutely decimated him, but I'll have to go back and rewatch that. I could be totally off, but let's just say it was a very close fight. I see why people are hesitant on picking him, because if it was close, I'm still not going to change because I think All In is the real deal. But I'm definitely not going to be as confident. But that's why I'm not saying it's a meat lock. I just think All In should win this one. But because Imavov, I mean, he's been making his fights look not even close in my opinion. But so has All In. But then you got that split, kind of trips me out. It'll be very interesting to see this matchup though. But I like All In style. He's very complete. Imavov, I think, is going to have trouble versus grappling. That's what I'm banking on. Is All In's grappling should do wonders for him.
Yeah, great points. And essentially, that's probably what earned him ultimately the split decision win over Chris Curtis. I'm looking at the stats now, all in versus Chris Curtis. And All In had 6 minutes of total control time to 1 minute and 18 seconds for Chris Curtis. And then if you look at the strikes by round, Meat Boy, very fascinating. Chris Curtis won 2 rounds in the strikes. Brendan Allen won 2 rounds in the strikes. And then the fifth round was dead even. They both landed 23 strikes. So basically the fight was very, very close. And nonetheless, though, Brendan Allen got it done. And I do agree with you. I think this could be a good opportunity for him to just kind of remind everyone, yo, that was just not the best night, yet he still got it done. So I'm curious if that holds true in this fight against Imavov. So I don't know though, Meat Boy. I think I'm going to take Imavov in this one. I like what Brendan Allen has been doing, but I don't know. Something tells me that Imavov. I was just really impressed with that fight against Jared Cannonier, where he got that finish against what you mentioned, a guy who never gets finished. And Cannonier had the crystals. I mean, everything seemingly was going right for the Killer Gorilla, and then Imavov put a full stop to that crystal train. So I think that he gets this one done. I do, though, think that should be closer to pick'em, and I don't blame anyone for trying to take a stab at Brendan Allen at plus 180 because this should be a pick'em in my opinion. And I'm ultimately going to go Imavov by close decision. I was looking at Tapology, though. 65% is rolling with the Russian sniper, 35% going with Brendan All In, and it's basically all beige on both sides. So do you see a pathway where Brendan Allen gets a decision victory, or is it finish or bust if Brendan Allen gets this done?
Yeah, I think All In could get this done by finish for sure. But Imavov's tough guy. I don't know. I could see finish or decision for either one of these guys, to be honest. Like this is just a crazy fight. It's definitely a fight. I think people are not realizing how crazy this matchup is. Like this is a main eventer type fight. Like this card Loki is stacked. No, it's not even Loki. It just is stacked. Especially for the hardcores. But man, I gotta imagine that Imavov maybe wins by KO, and then Brendan Allen wins maybe KO. But if he does win by a finish, it's probably a submission.
Yeah, maybe even like a club and sub type opportunity. I mean, this is one of those fights that any outcome is probably going to make sense in the end. So we could talk about it for days. I'm ultimately going to go Imavov. You have Brendan Allen. I agree with you, though. It seems like it's a sleeper fight that maybe not everyone's talking about. And swap us through, Meat Boy, because this next fight, I mean, this is probably my favorite fight on the card. And I hope it delivers. Maybe it's a little bit more one sided than what I'm hopeful of, but it's just a sweet fight. It's Kevin Juice, undefeated hype beast, plus 142 though, a dog, and he's a city kickboxing guy, right? And we know the litany of success that all those guys are having, whether it's Israel Adesanya, whether it's the Black Jag, whether it's Kai Kara France most recently, and even Dan Hooker. I mean, these dudes are absolutely killing it, and he seems to be the welterweight iteration of that team. But he's taken on the Butcher, Brian Battle, who we've kind of been all over Brian Battle since his recent run. I mean, ever since that one loss to Renat Fakhretdinov in a fight where Renat kind of just took him down, held him down, and really nullified what Brian Battle offered. Ever since then, we've been all over Brian Battle. We've been getting him as slight dogs. We've been getting him as slight favorites, but he keeps getting it done nonetheless. And he's on a 3-fight win streak. I'm counting that fight against Ange Lusa as a W because that was a meat lock that we got absolutely posed on because Angelusa found an exit ramp. But nonetheless, we've definitely been impressed and all over what Battle's been doing lately. So you could say the same thing though with Kevin Juice. So in this fight, it's basically two guys meeting in the middle. Who do you think is the better version? And are you taking the Butcher as a minus 170 favorite, or is Kevin Juice going to hold it down for City Kickboxing?
Yeah, this is definitely a crazy one because this kid is no joke coming as where Izzy's at the city kickboxing gym. Oh, I'm pretty torn, but if there's anything I've learned, these guys aren't the best grapplers, bro. And Brian Battle's been absolutely ragdolling some fools. So I think if Brian Battle can use his grappling skills and his strength, he should be able to get this guy to the ground and win, possibly really easy, and maybe even submit him like first round. If he stays on the feet, I really do worry that this guy's striking might be too elite for him because he is an Izzy level striker. He is a Black Jag level striker. He is the real deal from what I've seen. It'll be very interesting to see. So, you know, Pooh Bear needs to put it all together and to get this one done. This is definitely a tough levels test for both guys. I feel like this is gonna be a crazy fight too.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm glad you brought up the grappling because, I mean, Kevin Jusay, we've seen him fight twice in the UFC, right? And the most recent opponent was Song Kanan, who obviously has zero grappling. They just went to stand and bang, and Song Kanan got pieced on for 15 minutes. And then the fight before that, he fought Kiefer Crosby, just absolute meathead. And Kevin Jusay did pick up a first round submission in that fight. So I guess you can argue he did demonstrate some ground prowess at least. But I mean, we're talking Kiefer Crosby, who is basically like mini Mendez out there. That guy should probably be a 145er, but he got absolutely smushed by Jusay, who's a big welterweight. But who else is a big welterweight? Brian Battle. I mean, this dude's massive, and to your point, he's well rounded. Kevin Jusay, lethal striker. Obviously, he's always working with Hooker, working with the Black Jag and Izzy, but Battle is a true MMA guy. And ever since that fight against Renat, when he got controlled, we've seen Brian Battle really lean on his grappling and wrestling a lot more since that moment. And yes, he had that first round finish against Gabe Green, so not so much in that fight since it was over in 5 seconds, but in the fight against AJ Fletcher where he picked up a submission, and the fight against Ange Lusa where he basically picked up a victory as well. He did demonstrate a very well-rounded attack. So I like where your head's at, and I agree with you. I think Battle's going to find a way to get this one done because of the well-rounded nature of his game. But I mean, maybe Kevin just said just because I mean it's one of those things where it's like just because we haven't seen his grappling in the UFC doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist, and perhaps it is a little bit better than we thought. And if you really scroll back and look at Jusay's losses, his only losses are to Caleb Rideout in a very controversial split decision, and then he got finished by Jack Della, who we also know as a lethal striker. So Kevin Jusay, he only has the two losses, but each of them can be explained a little bit. If you are taking Battle, do you really think it's first round, easy light work finish, and he just walks through Jusay, or any decision pathway for the Butcher? What are your thoughts on the method of victory for this one?
Um, I think both could win by KO, and both could, or you know, I think Battle's gonna win by submission or decision, and I think the other guy's gonna win by KO or decision. To be honest, it's gonna be a close fight. But yeah, I could see honestly both outcomes. Most likely, I think decision. I don't know. Brian Battle's so dang tough. I don't think Brian will get finished, but I could see the other guy getting choked out. To be honest.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Let us know in the comments. You taking the Butcher, Brian Battle, or you rolling with Kevin Air Juice? Say Tapology overwhelmingly has Brian Battle, so Tapology is rolling with the Butcher. You and I both have the Butcher. I'll officially go by. Let's say he gets this done. I think maybe a third round finish for Brian Battle is what I will settle on. So swap us through, Meat Boy. Two to go. Another interesting one here, and it's your boy Joe Anderson Brito, aka Tubarão, taking on William Gomes, who don't look now, but William Gomes has won 11 straight fights. He's 3-0 in the UFC, and he's fresh off his first finish over Giannis Gamori. And yes, Giannis Gamori is the one who got absolutely smoked in 5 seconds by Talbology, but nonetheless, it was a good finish for Gomes and a brutal body kick to finally put him out in that third round. And again, if you look at Gomes, the dude has won 11 straight fights. His last loss was in 2016 to Morgan Charrier, who's actually fighting on this card, but he's a plus 240 dog, is Gomes. And to you, does that make sense against Joe Anderson Brito, who the guy, I mean, just look at his last 7 wins. Chepe Mariscal, Diego Lopez, Andre Fili, JSP, Jack Shore. I mean, this dude is taking out some serious contenders in this 145 division, and he hasn't lost since 2016, besides that one hiccup to Bill Algeo. So what are your thoughts on this? Brito is a heavy favorite. Again, plus 240 is the homie Gomes. Basically, minus 300 is Brito Tubarão. So do the odds make sense to you? Are you at all scared away by Gomes' fat win streak, or is Brito that sick and maybe he's the next champ?
I think Britos is that sick. I mean, Britos is just no joke. It looks absolutely horrifying when he's fighting all of these guys. I mean, think about it. He beat Diego Lopes to get to the UFC. Like, beat him. It wasn't split. It was unanimous, absolute demolishing. And look at Lopes. Lopes is over here demolishing T City.
He's a juice box, he's
Like,
a juice boy,
what?
and that's why the juicy juice box
Crazy.
came
You
into
already know this guy's
the
good.
camera
And
frame.
then Jack Shore, Jonathan Pierce, like GSP, like no one does that to GSP. Like, so this guy's no joke. I think the odds are very, very accurate. Uh, I think the undefeated Jag definitely scares the odd makers because I think it should be more like a minus 600. But this guy's undefeated. He's looking pretty good to himself, but he's fought nobody to the caliber of Brito. So I think this is definitely a make it or break it for the kid. If he can get past Brito, that kid is definitely future champ material. But Brito, we already know potentially could be future champ, and this is just another win on his belt to solidify that. Dang, this guy could be there.
Yeah, good stuff, and it would be in enemy territory too, right? Because it's going to be a home match for Gomis. The fans are going to be roaring for him to get the upset, but Tubarão probably will be uninterested in all that noise, and will just be We'll have a singularity to focus on getting the job done for sure. And I'm glad that you touched on the experience and the level of opposition that Gomis has faced. I mean, because again, he finished Giannis Gamori. Okay, he beat Francis Fire Marshall by split decision. It's like, okay, and then he beat Jarno Aaron's majority decision, and those are lower level guys in this division. So when you're going up against a guy like Tubarão, who has fought basically everyone, and like you said, beat Diego Lopez in the Contender Series, right? I mean, Diego Lopez lost on Contender Series, and then the way he got into the UFC was short notice, and then that's when he reminded everyone how good he is. So that tells you what Brito looks like. And the fight before that, when he finished my boy Chepe Mariscal in 44 seconds in the LFA. So Tubarão probably is that sick. So I'm with you. I'm gonna roll with Brito in this one. Tapology overwhelmingly is rolling with Tubarão, and 86% is taking him. Majority is ground for the KO. So do you think Brito gets a KO, TKO, or you can take a juicy submission prop, or does Gomes maybe make this fake close, fake interesting, and find a way to survive 15 minutes, but ultimately Brito gets a decision?
I think Brito gets a finish, and it's either KO. Honestly, I could see KO, psych, submission, a total, like Bo Nickel classic, drops the guy, then gets the sub. So I think Brito could absolutely do that. Brito's fought taller guys before. It's just another one. He knows how to break them down. He's probably going to do that in this one.
Yeah, and to that point, breaking him down, I mean, Brito's leg kicks recently have been absolutely insane. So Gomes is a pretty big, long, lanky dude, 6 foot tall. Gotta imagine Brito from that first second is going to be chopping away at those legs. And I like him ultimately with you to get a submission because we mentioned Gomes' last loss. When he did lose to Morgan Charrier, it was by a heel hook. So maybe this fight looks similar to Tubarão versus JSP, where if you remember, JSP did have a lot of success in that first round specifically, but found a way to survive was Tubarão and ultimately got submitted. So I think this fight could look fake similar. I'm with you. Taking Brito. I like him to get a submission victory in this one, and I think it'll be in the second round. I'm going to let Gomes survive 5, but maybe this is just a straight ragdoll and it's start to finish first round domination for Brito. Wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. So any last thoughts on Tubarão versus the Jaguar?
No, this card is stacked, guys. Like this is a sick fight. This could be a main eventer also.
Yeah, this card is stacked. All these fights could be main events for sure. And swap us through that, Meat Boy. It's the last one. It's the meat event, and it's one that I'm equally as excited for as some of the others, and we're obviously stoked for the others. It's Renato Moicano, who is 19-5-1 and a plus 230 dog, taking on Benoit Saint Denis. BSD Movement, who is coming off his most recent fight, which was a loss. It was fight of the night. He got slept against Dustin Poirier. He was a co-main eventer, and he was a fat favorite, but he gassed out early, or I shouldn't say early, but he gassed out after not getting the first round finish, and Dustin Poirier was able to just really turn the tide and make it look pretty easy in that second round with the easy light work finish. So he's a minus 278 favorite though, and we'll start there. I was a little bit surprised by the odds, to be honest with you, because Moicano, to me, I mean, he's won 3 straight. 2 of 3 were finishes, and most recently it was against Jalen Turner in a fight that was pretty similar to BSD versus Dustin Poirier, where Jalen Turner was really putting it on Moicano. He almost had him finished, but decided to celebrate instead of pounce, and as a result, Moicano survives, and Moicano gets a second round finish, just like how Dustin versus Benoit unfolded. So, are you at all surprised by the odds, Moicano plus 230 despite the fat win streak, or are you thinking that BSD, Dustin Poirier is just the ultimate levels test? It's Dustin Poirier, the former champ, and BSD truly is on that high level still, despite losing most recently.
That's the $1 million question right there because BSD looked absolutely insane for since he's been in the UFC, and then even in that Dustin Poirier fight he looked crazy. Now some could say that the reason why he gassed and just wasn't all there and wasn't as good as he usually is because of that staph infection. That really can take a toll. But let's just say there was no staph and that was his 100%. That was still a very scary 100%. But what we learned was he's a two-pump chump. He goes full out, and then once he's gassed, he is absolutely donezo. So if Moicano can survive, the longer Moicano survives, the better the odds of him winning is. Moicano's a G. He's been absolutely peaking right now. So I don't know. This is a crazy fight because I think if Benoit didn't fight Dustin Poirier and he fought Moicano, I think it would be such a one-sided plus, you know, 800 for Moicano. I really do think that the odds would be so crazy. But after watching the Dustin Poirier fight, I think a lot of people have a lot of doubt in how good Benoit actually is.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if minus 278, if close to minus 300 BSD odds turns out to be a steal. Because, like you said, when Benoit has been favored in his recent fights, the odds have definitely been inflated. So we'll see if this screams value here. But I don't know, Meat Boy. I'm kind of seeing it on the flip side. I almost think that plus 230 for Moicano screams value. I mean, I've just been really impressed with everything he's done since hopping to lightweight. And the one fight I do want to focus on, and yes, it was way at the end of 2020, and it was his debut in the division. It was against Fiziev, and that was a fight where he got finished in the first round. So Moicano, while yes, recently he's had that iron chin, he's been able to walk through shots and basically was able to not get finished, but he has gotten finished earlier in fights before, and we do think that if Benoit has some success, it's got to be early because all the fights that BSD was winning prior to running into Dustin were either first or early second round finishes and fights where he usually earned bonuses. So does the fact that Fiziev put Moicano out in the first round give you some optimism for that BSD could do the same thing, or is a better approach to say that was 2020, it was a long time ago, and Moicano now is on a different level than where he was?
I mean, we're kind of definitely on a different level than where he was, so those odds are very juicy even at 200, but I think they would have been even crazier if Benoit didn't just lose. So, still crazy to see that people don't respect Moicano's ability, because I think he's absolutely peaking right now, where this is the best Moicano we've ever seen right now. So it would not surprise me if this is a big upset to the casuals, but makes sense to the hardcores.
Yeah, for sure. And Tapology, I mean, my bad, Meatball. You're taking God of War, right? You're taking Benoit.
I no, honestly, I'm very torn. I think I don't know. This is such a tough one because I would probably have said Benoit before his loss. But I probably would have. I'm probably still gonna say Benoit even after that loss. I don't know if that was really the best Benoit. I'm gonna go with the staph infection cop out. He would have beat Dustin easy work if he didn't have staph.
It's interesting, and I didn't mean to box you in because if you're waiting for my my testimonial, then I can offer it now. And I mean, we can even it could be the first ever Meat Boy live swap where I thoroughly convince you to go back to your gut, which is what seemed like you were going for Moicano. Because I'll open it up right now. I'm taking Moicano. I think this is gonna be easy light work, and I think that BSD movement did get absolutely exposed versus Dustin, and I don't know. I just don't see a world where Benoit goes through and just walks through Moicano. Easy light work. I feel like he is similar in skill set to Jalen Turner in the sense that, yes, they're dangerous finishers, but Moicano is as tough as they come. And if you don't put him away earlier, then he's going to get stronger and stronger as the fight develops. I mean, even that fight against Dos Nachos, where he was fighting on 2 days' notice, essentially, yes, he got dominated and lost the unanimous decision, but he won the 5th round. And I think even towards the end of the 4th round, he was kind of turning that fight. So Moicano's a dude who he's always in the fight, and I haven't yet seen enough from Benoit across an entire contest that doesn't end in the first 2 rounds to make me confident that he can take out a guy in Moicano. So even though Moicano, and this one's fascinating. I mean, we asked about Ewan's age. If I asked you who do you think was older, Ewan or Moicano, I would have guessed Ewan, but Money Moicano is 35 years old, and the God of Meat is only 28. So the youth is on Benoit's side, but I don't know. I think that the moment got to him against Dustin, even with the staph infection, and I think no staph infection in a meat event in Paris, I think he crumbles again. Moicano cuts another epic promo, and it's easy light work for Moicano. So to open it back up to you, Meeple, I mean, you didn't seem too bullish on Benoit. Do you want to swap over and ride with your boy, or are you sticking to the God of Meat?
No, I'm gonna stick with the God of Meat, and I think Benoit is the real deal. I think he's gonna get it done. The staff did him dirty last time, and it won't do the same as for this time.
Fair enough. Let us know in the comments if you are taking Benoit at around minus 278, or if you're rolling with your boy, you like the juicy meat value stake for Renato Moicano. I hope Renato gets this one done. One of my favorite fighters, and a meat boy legend for sure. So a good fight card, meat boy. Again, Fear delivered. We had a week off. UFC Paris probably will as well. We broke down 6. Last week you went 4-3. I went 5-2. How do you do after UFC Paris this weekend?
You see Paris. I'm gonna go with 5-1.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's both go 5-1 this week. Hopefully the 1L isn't Frevola the steamroller, but we picked Drew Dober. Frevola smoked him then, so let's see if the meatlock is earned for our boy the steamroller over the smile killer, or maybe our smiles are getting killed, meat boy. We'll see. Any last thoughts on UFC Paris? Wrap this thing up.
No, this is an absolute stack card, back to back. We're back, boys, and stay tuned. Smash that me subscribe and check out the other videos.